Welcome to another SEC baseball preview from Southern Sports Gumbo. We're going to be talking Florida Gator baseball tonight. Kevin, get us going here.
All right. So Florida with head coach Kevin O'Sullivan, he's had a lot of success there the last 10 years. Won a College World Series, played in the finals, um, lost to LSU in the finals, beat LSU in the finals. I believe it was 2018. Been a pretty consistent participant in Omaha in the College World Series. And he's got a team this year that there's certain parts of the team I like, and there's certain parts of the team I think they've got holes. Probably more holes that he's had on a team again, probably in the last 8 or 10 years. I'll start with the pitching staff. I think their pitching staff is solid, though, and will be one of the better pitching staffs in the SEC. Liam Peterson is their clear number one, and a lot of people consider him as the preseason pitcher of the year in the SEC. I'll be honest, I think there's a couple out there that might be better than him as a starter, but he's certainly in your top 3 or 4 in the SEC, and he's going to give you good Friday night starts every Friday night. So I think he's solid. Aiden King is their number two. He was a freshman last year, ERA of under 3. So again, a really good pitcher. He will be a very good number two. Then you get down to that 3 spot, and that's where they take a little bit of a dip. Early people thought Luke McNally might be. When you look at how they're going to throw this weekend, they're going to go Cooper Walls in that spot. Again, if you look at it though, that gives them depth. And then you also have Russell Sandifer, Jackson Barbet, Joshua Rittenhouse. So they've got good depth and they have good pitching, especially when you look at the 1-2 combination of Peterson and King. Those guys are capable of every time they go out of holding the team to 2 runs through 7 innings, which would get you a win. So they're going to be in games simply based on their pitching staff and what they can bring there. Then if you advance to their infield, there's parts of their infield I like. There's bats on the infield that I like. Carson Bowen hit over 300 at TCU last year. He's their catcher. He's going to give them a solid. He'll be good in that role. He'll be top half SEC. Cade Curlin's coming back at second base. Good player. Hit about 316 last year and was over 600 as far as slugging percentage. Brandon Lawson, probably their biggest upside guy, him or Kyle Jones in the outfield. Lawson, again, was over 600 in slugging and hit 317. Third base, they might play him at shortstop some, could even play first base. He's an athletic guy with, again, a lot of upside. He was a freshman last year, had a really good year. Tailed off a little bit in SEC play, but was really, really strong in non conference. I don't expect that drop off this year. I mean, look, when you're a freshman, if you hit over 300 and you play in the SEC, then you're a good player. Um, Transfer from Columbia, Sam Miller, potential shortstop. Look, if you look at what he did at Columbia, really good numbers, 338 and again over 600 slugging percentage. So you take that infield, they're strong, and then the player that I had mentioned, Ethan Surawak, who was at Ole Miss last year, transferred, didn't play a lot at Ole Miss, but he did hit over 300 and was over 700 with his slugging percentage. And then really had a good summer season with summer ball and showed a lot of power, and that's where Florida really wanted to go after him and get him. I like their infields. I think their pitching is above average SEC. I think their infield potentially is above average SEC. If all those guys, play to their highest level and they don't have injuries. Now is where I get to the part that I really think they're not very strong at all. I would say their outfield is in the bottom 4 or 5 outfields in the SEC. And so let me start with the DH because a lot of times these DHs are outfielders too or first baseman. Landon Stribling hit 264 last year, slugging 368. Um, then you got Blake Sir, who hit 254 last year. Hayden Yost hit 258 last year, and again, slugging under 400. And then you have Kyle Jones, who did hit 313. Now, again, he's a really good player in center field, and he's good. But with Sir and Yost, you've got a freshman Jacob Kendall that's going to battle for some playing time with those guys, and potentially could beat one of them out. So, and again, with Jones in center field, defensively will not be an issue in the outfield, but their overall what they bring out with the bats in the outfield, it's going to definitely be a weakness. So I go back to their infield, which I'll talk about the infield defense in a minute. Let's say you take a guy like Sam Miller, and maybe he doesn't transition to the SEC hitting wise. You take that outfield, you could have 3 to 4 players in your lineup that hit 250 ish, and that's going to, you're going to struggle to score runs if that's the case. If almost half your lineup struggling to hit. Again, Stribling was not a potentially good DH either. So, um, and then you combine that with the infield that through the preseason, the fall, last summer has not been good defensively in their scrimmages and practices. Um, you can't give up extra runs. Is where I'm going there with that. And so their infield's got to tighten up defensively, and their pitching's going to have to carry them. One last guy that I'll mention that to me is kind of a wild card for them with a bat and could end up playing a role in their outfield or first base or DH is a guy that they recruited as a pitcher, but they've moved him back to as a hitter and an everyday player, and that's Caden McDonald. He pitched his first couple of years there, didn't really dent, their pitching staff much. Again, they've got a lot of depth pitching wise. But if you go back to when he was in high school, his last year in high school, McDonald hit 20 home runs. So, he does bring power, the potential there, and he does have the potential to hit well. So obviously I can see the reason why Florida's doing that because they need people to fill in the gaps where they have some holes where they don't bring, good hitters. So, overall I look at the Florida team, they're going to go as far as their pitching. I guess I'll just call it like it is with that. Their pitching and their defense. That's gotta carry them because I see this team as a team that they're gonna play a lot of games, and they're gonna score 3, 4 runs in a lot of games. And again, in the SEC, that might not get you a win. When I look at their overall, kinda how I project them out, I really think this team is gonna be a 13, 17, 14, 16 type team. Again, 2 really good pitchers, maybe the best 1-2 punch in the SEC, potentially could be. But you're gonna have to score runs to still win, even if it's, you're a good 1 or a good 2. You gotta try to get to 4 or 5 runs. And when you're playing, other good Friday night starters in the SEC, like Texas will bring, like LSU will bring, Kentucky, potentially Tennessee. We'll see how that one turns out. And Texas A&M, some teams that have good arms. If you lose that Friday night game, then it makes the rest of the weekend a challenge. So on the flip side, if their defense comes around and they get 1 or 2 of these guys that hit to play better than what they have in the past, say a Caden McDonald or a Jacob Kendall as a freshman, if they get one of those guys to step up, they could flip that to 17-13. I don't foresee that, but they could if somebody randomly steps up, a young freshman or a guy that they're putting in to try to get some, or if Sarawak really hits the ball like he did in the summer, there's the potential to finish stronger than what a lot of projections have. And most don't have them preseason top 20 this year, which is different because they've been a mainstay in that. Like we said, they've been a College World Series mainstay also. DMAC, your thoughts on Florida?
Yeah, they brought in quite a few guys from the transfer portal to fill a few holes. But not a lot of these guys just jump out to me. One guy, Jaden Bastian, the transfer from Jacksonville, who's going to be out all season, probably would have been a really key piece for this outfield. But as we know, he's going to be out all season. I like the bat of Brendan Lawson a lot, and I like Cade Kurland, who was hurt last year, so the stats don't jump off the board with 3 home runs and 2 doubles, but that was through 51 plate appearances. I do like their Friday, Saturday 1-2 punch. You don't know if it's the best in the SEC, but it's near the top. Liam Peterson was a guy who threw 69 innings last year, struck out 96. He gives up some hard contact at times, though. So, his pitch count was elevated a lot with early exits and starts. Through 15 starts, that's 70 innings. He averaged, what, 4 2/3 an inning, I think, per start. So they're going to need him to be better than that for this team to reach the best they can be. I have this team pretty similar to you. With probably closer to like a 15, between like a 13 and 17, 15 and 15 as their floor. And the ceiling is like 17, 13 for me. They do get Carolina at home, Ole Miss at home, Texas A&M at home. And then on the road, they do travel to LSU, which is tough. Arkansas, that's tough. But then they also travel to Oklahoma, Georgia, and Alabama, which are three series that, are winnable. I don't want to call Arkansas and LSU series they can't win, but in all reality, probably not series that they can take. So they've got, not a overly challenging SEC slate. I'd probably put them, in the second tier of toughness. They don't have a, you schedule that just blows you away. They can't win games, but it does pose quite a few threats for them. So yeah, this is probably the least interested I've been in Florida in a long time from what they bring back. They've had a lot of off the field distractions. Kevin O'Sullivan took a leave of absence for a little while. He's back now. You gotta imagine that plays a toll or puts a toll on him and the team. So I just don't see this being a regional host. Probably a 2 or 3 seed in someone else's regional.
You talking about regional seed? I agree. Probably a 2 or 3 is where I think they end up. I agree with that. I think they end up probably a 2 or 3. I think that's very fitting for them, and I do think they make the tournament. Again, we said 13, 17 for the floor, and that gets you in the SEC, or that will get you in the NCAA tournament if you're 13 and 17 in the SEC. Traditionally, it has. And like you referenced, their schedule in the SEC is not that tough. So I agree. I think that they can make the tournament. I just don't see them, making much of a run in the tournament this year. So it's interesting. 2 years ago they barely got in the tournament in Sullivan, and they made a run. Uh, Beat Oklahoma State in their region and got in the Super and made a run. Made it to the College World Series, and then last year, you know, good season, not a great season, but then so it's gonna be interesting this year. I guess where I'm going, there's been kind of a regression. That's hard to say. I mean, that's kinda crazy to say when 2 years ago they made the College World Series. I'm just looking at how they played that year in the regular season. So it's just interesting to me to see, kinda where this team is at, where they go. O'Sullivan had some of the off-field stuff, took a leave of absence. So I'm gonna be really curious to see how the team plays this year. Do they respond? Does he connect with them? Do they have a good season? Or are they in a trend where maybe they take steps back? And I guess that's the point where I'm at with them is I want to see where they're at, what trend they're going to follow. Because it certainly appears to me they're on a trend to maybe take a little step back. Florida has really good high school baseball, and that's one of the things that's made him over the years, recruiting wise. And they certainly did not recruit as well this past year. So they do have Brady Harrison committed next year. He's one of the best outfielders in the country. So maybe it's just an anomaly, and maybe it's not a trend. But that's what we're going to see. So, any more thoughts you got on Florida?
No, that's all that I've got tonight.
Well, all right. I don't foresee this as a year that they'll be celebrating a lot with a chomp. Let's just say that. Solid team. They'll get some wins. Probably beat it, probably win a series or two they're not supposed to with their pitching. but probably, somewhere between 7 and 10, 7 and 11 in the conference.
Well, that's a wrap on Florida baseball tonight. This is preview number 11. We will have 5 more coming to you before Friday. So remember to like, follow, and subscribe, and we'll see you soon.